meeting. We are just waiting and having some time to folks join us, so make sure that we received a quorum. So please stand by at this point.
Chairman Jimei, we have a quorum for CENTAC. Chairman, for CTAC, we're still missing a couple of folks.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim, this is Nick Aboud. I'm here for both CENTAC and CTAC, FYI. San Marcos.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying.
It's Steve Manganello representing Imperial Beach here for Santec. I'm a little late. Thank you.
And Tim, we also have Phil Kern in the attendees.
And I'm also covering Santec and CTAC.
Thank you, Phil. Jonathan, how are we doing with the active transportation working group?
Hi, Alex and Everett. It looks like we are one member away from quorum for ATWG.
Okay.
Hello, this is Sam Hassan in City Vista. I am here for Santec and active transportation.
You know what? It's Minji here. I'm actually also for the active transportation as well. In case you don't know, as usually I don't attend.
Thank you.
Actually, I was going to say I'm here for CTAC too. If I don't see anybody else from the city of Vista, so if nobody joins for CTAC, then I'm here for the three groups.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim, how are we doing then?
Yes, we just met quorum for CTAC as well.
And Santec, perfect.
And CENTAC, yes.
Jonathan?
With the updated names, I believe we met quorum for ATWG.
Perfect.
It sounds like we can start.
I think we're ready, Chair Mo.
Thank you very much, Alex, and everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the joint meeting of CTAC, Santec, and for the first time, our partners Active Transportation Group. Today is the first time we're basically hosting all three committees. My name is Mo Samak. I'm with the city of Solana Beach and representing CTAC today. With me, Minji May, representing Santec, the chair of Santec, and Everett Hauser, representing Active Transportation, are going to host today's meeting. We're going to take turns in introducing items, and hopefully we will stay in the allocated time frame. A couple of housekeeping items. Please recognize that this meeting is a public meeting and is being recorded. As most of you have been very acclimated with this new environment. Please respect everyone's, I guess, participation. Keep your microphone on mute. Certainly, you have to unmute yourself when you speak. And those of you who wish to turn your camera, you can certainly do that. But again, when you're not talking or speaking or participating, please turn off your camera and put your speaker on mute position. Raise your hand. We definitely monitor hands, and we can certainly call for your comment, questions, or participation once you raise your hand. Today, because of the number of participants, we are going to hold off on the introduction. I think when we go through approval of the minutes, you can certainly take some time to introduce yourself, tell us which agency you represent, and then at the same time, you can cast your vote. With that, I'd like to turn it to Minji to take over item number 2.
Thank you, Mo. Yeah, item number 2 is to review and approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting in the last month. Since we have a, it's a joint meeting today, so we'll do the minutes individually. Since we have a CTAC and SANTAC joint meeting last month, so please, both CTAC and SANTAC member review that minutes, and I'll give you a couple of minutes, and I'll entertain a motion in a second. Thank you.
As we're entertaining a motion for and second, and as the members are reviewing the meeting minutes, 2A, Chair Everett Hauser, do you want to say something to represent the working group?
Sure. Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everyone. Everett Hauser, Chair of Active Transportation Working Group from the City of San Diego, and just want to thank CTAC and SANTAC for bringing us together for this joint meeting with a lot of good topics for the agenda. And just heads up for ATWG members, we'll do the same thing for our minutes just in a moment. Thanks.
Alex and sorry. Alex and chairs, just to clarify, we will need motions from both CTAC as well as SANTAC. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wait, is that I thought only need one. Do we need both from individually?
We could do one and then go through the voting, like we mentioned, Minji.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. This is for CTAC and SANTAC members. If you're ready to make a motion, please do so. If you need a little bit more time, that's okay. But
Yeah, Steve Manganello, Imperial Beach. Comment on the SANTAC minutes. I should be listed as a yes under 2B, approval of the SANTAC meeting minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
I move to approve the minutes of the joint CTAC SANTAC meeting, last meeting. This is Nick Abud, San Marcos.
Thank you, Nick.
Frank Rivera, Chula Vista, second the motion.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Tim?
Okay.
Okay, so we go ahead and start with the approval of the minutes. We'll start with CTAC, a representative for City of Carlsbad.
Hussein Ajide, yes.
Thank you. City of Carlsbad, representative for Centec.
I don't think John Kimmer, a city engineer, is here. I can vote yay for him too, if you want.
So I only have John and Miriam as representative
Both.
for Centec.
Yeah,
Absent, okay. City of Chula Vista, representative for CTAC.
Frank Rivera, Chula Vista, yes.
Thank you. And Centec representative for Chula Vista.
Scott Barker, Chula Vista, abstain.
Thank you. City of Coronado for CTAC.
Ed Walton, and I will abstain.
Thank you. City of Coronado for Centec.
Dave Johnson, City of Coronado, and I abstain.
Thank you. City of Del Mar for CTAC. Absent. City of Del Mar for Centec. I don't see anyone. City of El Cajon for CTAC.
Mario Sanchez present. Yes, I approve.
Thank you. City of El Cajon for Centec.
Again, Mario Sanchez. Yes, I approve.
Thank you. City of Encinitas for CTAC. I believe Julie will be joining us late. City of Encinitas for Centec.
Abe Bandigan, approve.
Thank you. City of Escondido for CTAC.
That's Julie, Tim.
Yes, sorry. City of Escondido for Centec.
I approve the minutes.
Thank you. City of Imperial Beach for CTAC.
Juan Larios, City of Imperial Beach, yes.
Thank you. City of Imperial Beach for Centec.
Steve Manganello, approve.
Thank you. City of La Mesa for CTAC.
Phil Kern, City of La Mesa, aye.
Thank you. And for Centec, City of La Mesa.
Phil Kern, aye.
Thank you. City of Lemon Grove for CTAC.
Mike James, approve.
And for Centec.
Approve.
Thank you. City of National City for CTAC.
Jose Lopez, City of National City, yes.
Thank you. And for Centec, National City.
Yeah, Lucas Tapielos, National City, abstain.
Thank you. City of Oceanside for CTAC. I don't see anyone. City of Oceanside for Centec.
This is Hamid, yes.
Thank you. City of Poway for CTAC.
John Collins, abstain for Santec and CTAC if Henry's not here.
I don't believe I've seen Henry, so thank you. City of San Marcos for CTAC.
Nick Abud, approve.
Thank you. And City of San Marcos for Centec.
Nick Abud again, approve. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. City of Santee for CTAC.
City of Santee Minji may approve for both CTAC and Centec.
Thank you. City of Vista for CTAC.
Dan Hassanen, approved for CTAC and Centec.
Potentially, if a senior wanted to come to Living Coast, depending on how many trips.
I'm sorry, was that a comment?
That wasn't from me. What was it? I didn't hear what that was. This is Sam Hassanen, City Vista,
Yeah.
approved for CTAC and Santac.
Noted, thank you. City of San Diego for CTAC.
This is Terry Chewy, City of San Diego. I approved.
Thank you. And City of San Diego for Santac.
Maureen Gardner, approve.
Thank you. City of Solana Beach for CTAC.
Mo Stamak, yes.
City of Solana Beach for Santac.
Jim Greenstein, City of Solana Beach, I approve.
Thank you. County of San Diego for CTAC.
Bill Morgan, County of San Diego, approve.
Thank you. And County of San Diego for Santac. I don't believe I see anyone. NCTD for CTAC. I don't believe I see anyone. NCTD for Santac. Absent. MTS. Absent. And Caltrans for Santac.
Yes, Brian Miller in for Melina Pereira, abstain.
Rajpreet Singh, approve.
Thank you. We'll take the approve as primary. Chairs.
Thank you, Tim. That concludes the approval of the CTAC and Santac minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Minji. Alex, do we want to do the same for active transportation group, or we're good to go to the next
No,
item?
no, we have to do it.
Okay.
Okay, so for active transportation working group members, if we could receive an approval for the minutes from our last meeting there in the agenda, item 2B. And I have a comment. So if someone is ready for the motion, I have a comment. Anybody?
I can make a motion to approve the minutes for active transportation working group. This is Nathan Schmidt, City of Carlsbad.
Great, thank you, Nathan. And just to go with that motion, I have just a couple corrections in the title or in the opening paragraphs, recognizing my agency to City of San Diego, and also in the attendance. I'm listed on there twice, with previously with the county and now with the city. So we have a motion from Nathan and Carlsbad. Can we get a second?
Howard LaGrange, City of Oceanside, second.
Excellent, thank you, Howard. I think we're ready for a roll call.
Great. Caltrans, looks like Brandon Tobias.
Oh yes, this is Brandon Tobias, and I.
Nathan Schmidt with the City of Carlsbad, move to approve. City of Chula Vista.
Patrick Moneta, abstain.
City of Coronado.
Howard Lee, Coronado, yes.
City of Del Mar, looks like Sean McMahon is absent. City of El Cajon, Paul Romero.
I approve.
City of Encinitas, looks like Lori Winter is absent. City of Escondido, looks like it absent. City of Imperial Beach. Juan Larios, City of Imperial Beach.
Yeah, this is Juan Larios and I abstain.
City of La Mesa, looks like both absent. City of Lemon Grove, looks like.
Mike James approve.
Thank you. City of National City, Martin Reeder. Okay. City of Oceanside, Howard LaGrange, second the motion. City of Poway, Austin Silva, looks like absent. City of San Diego.
Approved. City of San Diego.
Thank you. City of San Marcos, appears absent. City of Santee.
Injury Mays, City of Santee, abstain.
Thank you. City of Solano Beach appears absent. City of Vista, Sam.
I approve.
Thank you. County of San Diego appears absent. MTS appears absent today. Civic San Diego, Brad Richter is absent. Air Pollution Control, sorry. Air Pollution Control District. San Diego County Bicycle Coalition, Jacob Mandel.
Yes, I abstain.
Thank you. Bike SD. Nicole Burgess. Alternate.
Yes, Nicole Burgess, I support.
Thank you. Circulate San Diego, Danielle Berger. Are you here today? She is absent. Safe Routes to School, Kristen Halcomb.
Approve.
Thank you. Post-secondary education, Kurt Lutz.
Hi, Kurt Lutz, UC San Diego. I abstain.
Thank you. That concludes the minutes.
Thank you, Everett.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Everett. I'm sorry for jumping the gun too early on you. I think we got through the most complicated part of the agenda today. So thank you, everyone. Moving on to the next item, number 3. This portion of the meeting is for public comments, communications, and member comments. Set aside for those members or members of the public that would like to address CTAC, SANTAC, and Active Transportation Working Group on any issues that are within their jurisdiction but are not on today's agenda. With that, I know that we have a couple of commentary. I'm going to start with Alex. And Alex, maybe you want to let us know if there's any member of the public have any speakers slip for this item.
Chair, thank you. We have 3 items, but we do have a hand raised from an attendee. So maybe we'll go to the attendee first. So Tim, if you could promote the attendee, Mr. Jim Barrows, and then we'll go through the 3 items that we had in our in terms of just public member comments, Chair, if that's okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Jim Barrows, you can now unmute yourself to speak.
Thanks for this opportunity. I'm assuming you can hear me. Let me know if you can't. My name's Jim Barrows. I just wanted to remind folks or inform those who don't know that the Federal Highway Administration is doing an epic update with the Manual of Uniform Traffic Devices. And there's approximately a month or so remaining in the opportunity to submit suggestions, and are many opportunities to correct, update, and I hope we'll take advantage of the opportunity. If you want some help with that, the League of American Bicyclists has identified an Excel spreadsheet with many of the active transportation issues for updating. If anybody wants access to that, I can provide it. Just contact me at the email that I think is available, or I'll put in the chat. Actually, I don't think I can add to the chat. In any case, take advantage of this. It's probably 10 years since the last formal overall update. Thank you.
Thank you. And please, yes, include the link, and then we could work with staff to forward that link, Mr. Jim Barrows.
Okay, I'll find a way.
If not, we could reach out to you after the meeting. Chair, we also have another comment from another member. Christine is raising her hand.
Please.
Wonderful. Thank you for the time. I just wanted to let everybody know that the San Diego Bike Coalition and City of Encinitas is doing some education around e-bike use because there are a lot of concerns about e-bike use and the uptick in safety and courtesy and rules of the road and all that. So we had one free virtual event last month. We're having another this month on the 26th. From 1 to 2:30, and just want to have you all aware of that, and also have your help promoting it for us if you would. And as always, Howard LaGrange, Pete Penziers, Carl Rudnick, and others are doing the smart cycling courses. So thank you in the past if you've helped push that information out there, and if you would in the future, we sure do appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Chair, with that, I'll proceed with the other announcements.
Please do.
Okay, so we have several announcements. The first one I would like to add is that for the local agencies, please remember that our TCIP letters are due in April 1st. So if you have not submitted that to Sandex, please do so. Before I turn it over to the chair, one last announcement. As part of our CMP development projects that are undergoing, Caltrans and Sandag are hosting a workshop on the Central Mobility Hub and connections for the comprehensive multimodal corridor. And that's a virtual workshop. And this is today between 6 and 7:30. I issued the notice of the workshop to CTAC members and Santec members, I believe. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. But essentially, the workshop notice is on Sandag's website with the Zoom link. Chair, I'll turn it over to you, please.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate the comments. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Hamid Bahadur to give us an overall introduction about AB 43. Hamid, if you don't mind, I'd like you to get started with that. And then we can probably gauge the interest level of the group and see if this item warrants an independent agenda item for future meetings. But for now, I don't want to spend too much time, maybe 2 to 4 minutes, depending on how much you want to introduce to us. Hamid, please.
Thank you very much. I will be very brief, and timing is of essence here regarding this bill. In a nutshell, let me tell you, colleagues, that this is the most important traffic safety bill that has come along in the last 40 years. This is a bill that come out of the AB 2363. It formed a committee, a zero traffic fatality task force that I was a member of, and we spent a year and a half, many discussions and workshops, and that resulted in a set of recommendations. AB 43, I have a copy here. It's still draft right after this meeting. We are circling again with folks in Sacramento and hopefully finalize it so it can go to print tomorrow. So you're going to see the actual copy tomorrow, and as soon as it's official, I can share the rest of the copy with all of you. In a nutshell, AB 43 completely changes the way that we are doing speed limit zoning in California. It completely changes rules and regulations that statewide we have been using. Speed, I don't need colleagues to tell you that it's #1 killer on our highways. A person, either a pedestrian or a bicyclist, if hit by a vehicle going at 35 miles an hour, has a 35% chance of survival. You increase the vehicle speed from 35 to 40, and that chance of survival drops to 35%. And it is of interest to all of us as traffic engineers, as the active transportation advocates and all that. In a nutshell, AB 43 is the most giant step that we have taken in the last 4 decades trying to remedy the speed limit issue in California. It will give us a lot of flexibility at the local level by establishing the high injury network as we choose, by extending the posted speed limits that we have on our streets, as long as a registered engineer can certify that the street characteristics has not changed generally. And it helps us with not doing those silly ETSs every 7 years, pushing us to raise the speed in residential streets and residential communities and causing the speed creep and all that. We have the problem with the California roadway system that if once we put the road on the California roadway system, we cannot use the provisions to lower the speed limit. This is going to get rid of that. We are going to delete the California roadway system referenced in vehicle code. It's long. It's a very long, complex bill. So obviously, I'm not going to explain it all here. Just wanted to give you guys heads up. AB 43 is going to be out for print tomorrow. I think we are going to finalize the draft this afternoon, hopefully, so it can be printed tomorrow. Keep an eye on it. But it's not a slam dunk. There are oppositions up there in Sacramento fighting this thing, as you can imagine. So we need every support from every city, every county, every active transportation group, bicycle coalition, pedestrian advocates, all of them, to pass this thing through. I will have more information next week that I will send to you in terms of the committee hearings, assembly committee hearings, and so on and so forth, and maybe some sampled support letters and all that I will share with the group through Alex. Just wanted to give you a heads up, and I appreciate the opportunity and the time. I'm going to stop here now, but as I said, and I can't emphasize it enough, this is the most important traffic safety bill California has had in the last 4 decades. Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues.
Thank you, Hamid. That was a very informative information, and thank you for sharing that. I think at this point, I would encourage you to come back to us maybe in our next meeting with additional updates. We certainly thank you for keeping an eye on this particular bill and informing us. I am interested in getting maybe some copies of your support letters just so that we could probably get the rest of the members to participate if they choose to do so.
Yes, thank you very much. And timing, as I said, is of essence. Letters of support usually work when they are made to Sacramento before the first hearing. So I will send more information next week regarding the actual text of the bill, some sample letters for letters of support, and some dates for the committee hearings. So any of you, and I know in the cities, usually we want to send letters of advocacy support. We have to go through city manager and all that. So I'm going to give you as much time as possibly I have. And then hopefully we can all send letters of support and make sure that this at least gets a fair share in hearing. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. We have one more announcement. This one is by Ralph Boaz. That is going to provide us a very brief update on the progress of the Connected Intersection project. Ralph, please take over.
Thank you so much. For those with CTAC and the Active Transportation Working Group, I do a lot of standards development work for the transportation industry on technology and traffic control management infrastructure. And I try to attend as many of the Santec meetings as I can. In a previous meeting, I reported about the US DOT sponsored Connected Intersections project that's been underway since last year. And for those of you not that familiar with this, Connected Intersections are those that have communication between the traffic infrastructure and connected vehicles or other mobile units via a roadside unit mounted in the intersection. This is you know, can be thought of as one aspect of a smart city. The purpose of the project is to produce a guide that harmonizes the numerous standards that are involved in CI/CV technology and providing guidance to the infrastructure owner operators and traffic control manufacturers and the integrators and automobile manufacturers. And we're entering a comment and deployment phase for this this guide, for this connected intersections guide. And so it would be helpful to know what CI, connected intersection equipment we have deployed in the county from any pilot projects or proof of concepts that have been done in the past. And I would also be interested in any planned projects in the next 1.5 years to 2 years. And the purpose would be to find opportunities where we could exercise or might exercise portions of this guide because we're looking for that on the project. And it's also kind of cool to do such things because it gives us some good press and good press means maybe more project opportunities. So I don't know how to get this feedback.
Ralph?
Yes.
Well, what I'll do is we'll follow up with all the invitees and include the comment and also your email. So if
okay, perfect.
Group members want to provide comments, they'll reach out to you directly.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I can give you a write-up of what I just said. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, we do have a hand raised from Sam.
Please.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick question for Hamid. What is the opposition to the Senate bill on the speed limits?
AB, it's Assembly Bill, AB 43. The primary opposition is from Teamsters, as we have had typically with some safety bills, and their concern is that it's going to affect the employment of their members who are mostly commercial drivers. And even though we can build some firewalls for some exemptions for the commercial licenses, driver licenses, the challenge is that still when their members are ticketed outside of their business hours, those tickets are usually reported to their employers and affects their employment. So the primary opposition at this point is Teamsters, and how the unions work in Sacramento, I don't need to tell you, they stick together, so they bring probably some other unions along. The good thing is that we are going hopefully to bring CHP and Caltrans along. CHP and Caltrans, typically government agencies, do not take position on the proposed legislations. In this case, since the legislation which is proposed by Assemblywoman Laura Friedman is the result of the Zero Fatality Task Force, which is a Secretary of Transportation committee, we may be able to persuade Caltrans and CHP to support. But to make a long story short, the primary oppositions are Teamsters at this point. So the more letter of support we get to the Assembly, the better.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Hamid. I think we're done with item number 3. So Minji, you want to introduce item number 4?
Minji, Chair Minji, can I request that we switch item number 5 and 4 only because Rachel Kennedy has a hard stop? And it should,
Yeah,
thank you.
Okay, so it was up to me to introduce item 5, Rachel Kennedy presenting the comprehensive multimodal corridor plans.
You're in mute. I think we're bringing up your presentation, Rachel.
Can you hear me now, Alex?
We can.
Okay. Thank you for the switch in schedule. I have another presentation to another group after this meeting. So can the slide deck please be pulled up? So my name is Rachel Kennedy. I'm the Corridor Planning Manager for Sandag, and I'm overseeing the development currently of 5 comprehensive multimodal corridor plans. We can go to the next slide. So comprehensive multimodal corridor plans are a new document, a new effort for SANDAG. They are integrated multimodal transportation plans that look at smaller geographies within our region. They help to provide additional detail to what is being included in our regional plan, which takes a look at transportation projects and solutions from a higher regional level. And the corridor plans help us sort of drill down to a little bit more detail in smaller areas of our region. And these corridor plans are suggested and in the future will be required for SANDAG to be competitive for certain state funds, including Senate Bill 1 funds, and also help us to be more competitive for federal and other funding sources as well. Next slide, please. So the corridor plans build upon the complete corridor system, which is one of the 5 big moves that's included in the 2021 regional plan. And this image here shows you, a complete corridor. So as you can see from this graphic, there are a number of different transportation services and elements that are included within this picture. Moving left to right, you can see that on the highway system there are a number of dynamic lanes that can change their purpose throughout the day, depending on the different needs and combinations of vehicles using the corridor. Lanes that are specific for carpools, for transit, for vehicles that have connected technology, and general purpose lanes as well. Moving towards the middle of the image, here you can see some of our high-speed transit that's located underground and provides people with really fast, high-quality, good connections to destinations throughout the region. Additionally, as you move further right in the image here, you can see, wide sidewalks where pedestrians are walking, connecting with local bus services, flexible fleets, active transportation, bike paths. So this is sort of a starting point for our comprehensive multimodal corridor plans that are looking at all different types of transportation solutions. Next slide, please. So in September of 2019, the SANDAG board allocated $40 million to develop a series of 12 corridor plans for many of the major corridors within our region. And right now, Caltrans and SANDAG together are working to develop 5 of these corridors. So here you can see on the map the 5 corridors that we're currently working on, which include the North County corridor shown in yellow, which includes State Route 78, Sprinter, and a piece of State Route 76 near to Oceanside. We have the San Vicente corridor, which is shown in orange, and that is focused around State Route 67 and the communities of Lakeside and Ramona. In green, we have our Coast Canyons and Trails corridor, which is focused around State Route 52 and the trolley and the freeway portion of State Route 67. In dark blue, we have the Central Mobility Hub and Connections corridor, which is focused on the area around the San Diego International Airport and includes exploration of a new Central Mobility Hub at 2 locations, either at the Navy's Old Town campus, where NAVWAR is currently located, or at another site a little bit further south, adjacent to Washington Street. And then our last corridor, which is the largest corridor, is our South Bay to Sorrento corridor, which you can see in purple. And that includes the Blue Line trolley, I-5, 805, and future potential Purple Line transit. So next slide, please. So in addition to these 5 corridors, we have 7 other corridors that we will also be doing corridor plans for over the next few years, and those are listed here. Next slide. So the California Transportation Commission has developed some guidelines for developing these corridor plans, and they have a number of different policy and planning areas that all of the plans will be considering as part of their efforts. So they need to be looking at active transportation and micromobility. The guidelines refer to the different transportation projects or policies or programs as transportation solutions. And so we're looking to look at solutions for all different types of transportation bikes and pedestrians, local roadways, transit, highways, goods movement, and the technologies that are needed to bring them together to function smoothly. We are also looking to make sure that transportation solutions that are developed address the needs of our low income and disadvantaged communities, and that we are preserving existing transportation structure or infrastructure and improving safety. Next slide, please. So this slide here shows just some examples of what some potential solutions might be. As I just mentioned, we're looking at a variety of modes within each of the corridors, and some of the potential solutions could be things like shuttles or on-demand rides, last mile delivery services, different applications that help people to access transportation more easily, dynamic lanes, priority for transit service, new services, and then infrastructure, of course, for walking, biking, and other personal rideables such as scooters or other elements. Next slide, please. So here on this slide, it kind of takes you through the process that the teams are using to develop these corridor plans. So we're first looking at defining the corridor characteristics. The teams have all been taking a look at existing travel data, demographic data, information from the community plans, general plans of their individual jurisdictions that are in their study areas, and understanding key destinations and origins within their study area and adjacent areas. Next, the groups are taking a look at where are some of the gaps that currently exist, and also opportunities for better serving some of our key destinations. And as many of you probably are aware, with the work that Sandag has been doing on the 2021 regional plan, that's really been a data-driven process, and our teams are able to utilize some of that same data that the regional plan team has been looking at to see where people are looking to go, what are some connections maybe people aren't able to make with their current network, and looking at some opportunities to improve those. Next, they'll be looking to apply the 5 big moves. So, a lot of work has been done to date for the 2021 regional plan in defining, different projects, programs, and policies to improve mobility. And with these corridor plans, we're able to look at that in a little bit more detail for these smaller areas. And there's some projects that would carry through from the regional plan, but there might be some other more detailed elements that perhaps hadn't been identified in the regional plan that could be incorporated with these corridor plans. And then eventually we will be developing suites of projects and programs and policies that are referred to as transportation solutions within the plan guidance, and implementation strategies for bringing these projects forward. So next slide, please. So here's a high-level schedule, and it shows sort of the work that's been done as far as the data analysis I just mentioned. A lot of that was done in the fall and winter. The teams now are starting to work on transportation solution assessments, exploring different transportation projects and elements. They'll be looking to refine those and then developing draft and final plans in the summer and fall timeframe. We're anticipating that these 5 corridors will be completed within the 2021 calendar year. And each of the teams has a little bit of a different schedule, but they all have different opportunities for public outreach that will be upcoming. And we can go to the next slide. And one of them is tonight. As Alex mentioned a little earlier in the presentation, we have a virtual public workshop that's happening tonight from 6 to 7:30 for the Central Mobility Hub and Connections Corridor Plan. And so if you're available, I would encourage you to attend. We'll be having a presentation and question and answer, some live polling that we'll be doing to get input from the participants. And we also have some information here for our virtual engagement hub on Social Pinpoint. And there we have an interactive map where you can go and drop pins on different areas where you may have recommendations about, an area of your community that has missing sidewalks or an intersection that's very congested at, when you're going to work, or it'd be great to have a bus stop over here. So that's one of the tools that we have. We also have information there on leaving general comments, and in the near future, we'll have a survey. So next slide. And then this slide here shows the variety of ways that you can connect with us for the CMCP program. We have a web page, and each of the 5 teams has their own page there with information for their project managers and fact sheets and specific information for their individual quarter plan. We have a number you can call as well as text. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a collaborative effort between Caltrans and Sandag. So we have a number of Caltrans staff and a number of Sandag staff that are leading the effort. So with that, I'm happy to take questions. And I saw there was a note in the chat that popped up as well about adding the link. So we'll put that in the chat too.
Chair Hauser, I do see a hand raised.
Yeah,
by
we do.
Nicole
So-
Burgess.
Right. Can we get, I think, Nicole, you can control your mic?
I am on unmute if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
And I just thank Rachel Kennedy and staff for working on these multimodal corridors, and it's exciting to see the great work that's being done in all of them. I just have one little concern, and that's between the Central Mobility Corridor and the South Bay to Serrano Corridor. And as we talk about equity and racial justice and transportation justice, it just seems like there's this little critical bubble there between the two that is missing that high concentration of these folks and this community, and just something that I hope these corridors will overlap a little better to address that Choias Creek Coalition connection, as well as the 94 and some of that area in there. So thanks for your presentation.
Sure. And Nicole, I think you gave a similar comment at a previous presentation I did about where sort of the blue bubble ends and the purple bubble starts near to Barrio Logan. And I did check in with the South Bay to Sorrento team, and that little piece that's white is part of their area of influence for the South Bay to Sorrento corridor plan. So it's being covered with that group. We haven't highlighted all the areas of influence that we have on the map because it started to get a little cluttered, but that area is being included. But if there's additional geographies that you're mentioning, maybe you can send me an email so that I can verify if they're included in an area of interest for one of the teams or not.
Great, thank you, Rachel. I'm not seeing any other hands. Would anyone else like to make comment?
Chair, I don't see any raised hands.
Yeah, I don't either.
Oh, and I just see a note from Alyssa Muto that the city of San Diego participates in the CMCP. Oh, thanks, Alyssa, for the note. Yeah, and I should mention too that the city of San Diego is a partner agency on all of the corridors that touch into the city of San Diego, and they've been actively participating, as well as a number of additional jurisdictions. We've had really great agency collaboration from all of the local jurisdictions that are included in these different corridors, as well as our transit operators and other agencies such as the Port of San Diego and the Airport Authority and others. So, it's been really great to have a lot of input early in the process from a number of different partner agencies. So thanks for adding that, Alyssa.
Okay, well, I thank you very much, Rachel. Hope you get to your next meeting on time. Looks like we're right at 11.
Yep, I should be good. Thanks so much for accommodating the swap.
You're welcome, Rachel. We're going back to item number 4, Chair Minji.
Okay. Yep. Item number 4, Alex will give us an update on the 2021 Regional Plan Vision update. Alex, please.
Thank you, Chair. And this is really an update of the current efforts that we've undertaken, or I know we presented kind of high level update, but there's a couple of items, and it's really mainly on the schedule. So I believe we made a previous presentation where at that time, we mentioned that at the February 12th Board of Directors meeting, both our planning director and our chief economist presented the work that was developed, but they presented really the vision in terms of how that would be articulated in the regional plan, with the whole concept of creating a faster and fairer and cleaner transportation system across the region. But supplementing that, we do have a board of directors meeting this Friday, excuse me. And staff is coming back to the board to walk them through the data-driven approach, kind of mentioned by Rachel in terms of the relationship and all the data that we've collected. But the idea here is that we are going to present kind of the walkthrough of how we got to where we're at right today, but also present some cost estimates of the potential funding strategies that will drive the regional plan. Really to implement the plan moving forward. In terms of additional schedule elements, we do have some additional board of directors, excuse me, presentations coming up, more specific to the role of technology in the regional plan, social equity, and also alignment to state and regional and local planning efforts. In terms of the overall timeline, we do expect to issue a draft plan on May 28th at the Board of Directors. What we'll do is we'll follow up also with the link of the board meeting this Friday for those that would like to participate, and you have that available to listen into the Board of Directors meeting. That's pretty much kind of the high level schedule update, Chair Minji, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Alex. Is there any questions?
Alex, I have a question.
Hi, Julie. Yes.
Hi. Yeah. So I noticed, I'm not sure if this is the same item, but I noticed that there was an item on the board agenda that talked about cost estimates and kind of moving forward with projects specific. I don't know if it was selection or, the plan, putting together the plan. There wasn't any staff report attached to the board agenda item, so I wasn't able to get any detail on what's proposed. But I was hoping to find out whether or not SANDAG expected to consider like some kind of a cost benefit analysis where you look at the benefits of a project against its costs. Is that something that's been considered or will be a part of your methodology?
It is, I think, being part of considered as part of the process, Julie. I would have to get back to you on what exactly is being presented, but I know that they're going to especially talk about the funding strategies and then how that lays out maybe to the packaging of the projects. But I would have to get to that. I haven't been as close to this particular presentation, but I'll follow up with you.
Okay, I appreciate that. I have an interest in that, and I think that, as we're selecting projects and evaluating their merits, that seems like the kind of thing that the CTAC would want to weigh in on. And so I'm hoping that there's an opportunity for us to, at least see, what's being proposed and help, provide input.
The comment,
Thank you,
Julie, and I'll follow up with you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Alex.
Okay, I don't think I see any more hands raised.
Thank you, Minji, Julie, and Alex. Appreciate the information. We're on item number 6, the City of San Diego 2019-2020 Micromobility Program highlights. We have Alicia Moto, who is going to provide us an overview of the progress update. Alicia, please take over.
See my screen, and let me just switch to presentation mode.
We could see it, Alyssa.
All right, do you just see the presentation?
We see it in the next slide mode.
Okay. me see, how do I get out of that? Does that work?
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you so much for bearing with me. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for having me today. I'm Alyssa Muto. I'm the director of the, oh, it said this is my old information. I'm the director of the new mobility department at the City of San Diego. Really excited to be here. So many familiar faces, so many new faces. But I really wanted to share with you today some of the City of San Diego's data around shared mobility devices. I want to give credit where credit is due. Justin Ellsworth of our Performance and Analytics Department did compile all of this data for us, so I could share it with you today. So a little bit of background. The Shared Mobility Device Program started in the City of San Diego with a quick drop of scooters back in 2018. Almost a year later, the city passed their Shared Mobility Device Ordinance. And then in 2020, the boardwalk ban was adopted. We had, in the beginning, 7 operators that were deployed in the City of San Diego. And in our most recent permitting back in January of 2021, we resumed with another 7 operators. However, during COVID and the pandemic, we actually saw operators drop down to 1 operator and then slowly increase and come back to full operation. Let me go on to the next slide. Let me see if I can get this to move. There we go. All right, so the program coordination in the City of San Diego is actually separated amongst about 9+ departments, with each department having a piece of the program and implementation, permitting, oversight, and enforcement. How we are moving forward is with the new mobility department. Mobility is now the single point of contact for scooter operations. So it's really exciting to see how those changes can occur. And we're really moving that forward with the increase in the mobility function in the City of San Diego. All right, so jumping into our data, in 2019, there were more than 4.8 million trips of shared mobility devices in the City of San Diego. This graph shows that the number of trips taken each month and then throughout the year. Above average volume is highlighted in orange, and the standard or below average volume is highlighted here in blue. These months of the higher than average trips volume mirror what we see in other industries and could be impacted by factors such as tourism, cycles, weather, school cycles, and holidays. So similar in 2020, and I apologize, the data was taken through to September. We were actually prepped to give this presentation a couple months ago. So you'll see the 2020 data concludes in September, but the trends are continuing to go back up. But in this last year, by contrast, we had severe disruptions to the micromobility industry due to COVID. And that sharp decline from March and April coincide with the first declaration of the emergency in the region. Volumes from the previous month showed the industry had still not recovered fully from the impacts of COVID, and year-to-date volume is down roughly 65%. So this graph here shows daily trip volumes during 2019. We'll see regular upticks in trip volumes can be seen on the weekends, holidays, and special events. Those seem to be strong drivers of the trip volume, with the highest trip volume occurring on days such as the 4th of July, Pride Festival, Comic-Con, and Labor Day. This graph for 2020, again, paints a very different picture. The impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic are immediately apparent, with weekday volumes appearing to reach a steady amount, around 5,000 trips per day, and volumes on the weekend continue to prove to be less predictable, with spikes as high as 15 to 20,000. Here we show the average fleet size across the operators in 2019. Once again, we see a seasonal increase during the summer months and early fall, with trip volumes decreasing, as well as several operators removing their fleets out of San Diego. As we were entering into the permitting cycles, we saw a steady decline in scooter fleets from September onward. The average daily fleet size overall was about 8,000 in 2019. So in contrast, during COVID-19, the average daily fleet size during 2020 has been about 3,000, close to 1/3 of the total operations of a fleet during 2019. While fleet size appears to be increasing again, we'll likely see it taper off or even decrease as we head in and out of winter months. So presently, based on our populace data, we are operating at about 4,500 a day. So similar to where we were last September. We'll now look at the utilization over 2019. And the metric we commonly look at is trips per device per day. This data speaks to the challenges of balancing supply and demand, with supply, of course, being the number of devices and demand being the number of trips taken on those devices. The average trips per device over this year was about 2 trips per device per day. Once again, the impacts of the pandemic can be readily seen in decreased device utilization. However, a stable trend has been emerging over the past few months, which is interrupting the stronger fluctuations seen from last year. So I want to stop here and note again with 2020 data, what's interesting is we have, as I mentioned, about 4,500 per day being deployed. And we're seeing the average daily trips per device at about 1.2. So what we anticipate is actually we have too many devices out during this time, and about maybe 1/3 of those devices are being left idle, whereas the rest of the devices are being used at a rate of probably 2+ trips per device per day. So now looking now at the nature of shared mobility device trips, in 2019, the average trip distance was just over a mile, and the average trip duration, or the length of that trip time-wise, was about 10 minutes. While there's a slight increase due to during the peak SMD season, overall distance and duration are fairly stable in 2019. As for 2020, distance and duration have only proven to become more stable in the months following the start of the pandemic. The average trip distance is a little higher at about 1.2 miles, and the average duration is about 13 minutes. This shows that both duration and distance have increased on average since the pandemic began, possibly lending itself to changes in the nature of trips, the way riders are using SMDs. This could be such as replacing short TNC trips with Uber or Lyft and other ride-sharing companies. So here's a glimpse at our mapping application. We're really fortunate to pair up with Populous. Populous provides us with some terrific maps of heat maps for corridors, data related to our MDS data, our mobility data specifications that are transferred between the operators in the city daily, and also we have live data being transferred. It's been really helpful to pair up with our own internal operations, and then for verification of utilization of devices that relates to demand, ensuring caps and permitting are being complied with by our operators, and just general maintenance of our city and management of the scooter program. So in addition to Populous, we have in the city of San Diego our Get It Done platform. That's a way that the members of the public can provide reports to the city of San Diego on things that they observe, whether it's infrastructure that needs tending to, if they have had their trash collection missed, or in this case, we can also use it for scooter reports. So for each Get It Done report, they can select who the operator was, take a picture of it, and send it in to us. So the graph here shows the number of resident complaints received in the city's 311 program. And the scooter case processing was added in summer of 2019 when we started the permitting. So after initial interest, resident reports have steadily declined, and we're presently seeing about less than 100 complaints per week. So looking now at rider violations, in June and July, this reflects the implementation of the scooter ordinance, as well as grant funding for our police department to conduct SMD specific enforcement activities. About half of the violations were related to riding on the sidewalk, and a third were related to riding while doubled up, that is with 2 riders on a single device. Both of those riding styles are not permitted in the city of San Diego. Less than 5% of these violations were related to underage riding. Before I jump into that, some of the things that the city of San Diego has done is we are requiring operators to allow only 1 user per ID. So when you scan your ID when using the scooter, you can only start up 1 scooter. Multiple scooters cannot be started up, so you have to have a valid driver's license. And then we've also worked with many of the operators to geofence areas where there are just sidewalks, like our courts in Mission Beach, and where there are no roadways, and it would be inappropriate for scooters to ride down those sidewalks. So we'll now pivot to talk a little bit about rider incidents. The graph here shows rider injuries reported by the San Diego Police Department or to the San Diego Police Department in 2019. There were a total of 171 incidents reported. Of these incidents, 91 represents single person injuries. It's important to note that the data does not distinguish on the severity of the injury, and of course does not capture any injuries that were not reported to the PD. So some of the highlights here in comparison, I find this very interesting to see the significant decrease or impact of COVID-19 on scooter operations. And so far, we haven't seen a tremendous ramp back up, though incrementally we definitely see in the case of deployments and trips done per day, that we are seeing an increase in that scooter operation. We anticipate though, as we get closer to the warmer summer months, that those numbers will continue to go up. So forward outlook, as we move forward with the mobility department having greater oversight and management of this program, we work to find more efficiencies internally, but also to better effectively work with operators and residents. During the last 6 months, we have established ways to get the Get It Done reports with just the reported information and the photo to the operators directly so that they can be more responsive, and improved on ways of internal oversight and management of the populace data and reporting. We are also using that data to analyze and report on our climate action goals. We'll be working again with SANDAG on how the mode share can integrate into our regional plan numbers and some of the outputs related to mode share and the overall GHG reduction. And of course, pairing mobility with those transit connections for first mile, last mile. And lastly, from a process perspective, we are working on considering an RFP for limited operators. And we've been doing benchmarking of about 35 cities across the nation to determine what is the best data to manage scooter operations and deployments in the city of San Diego. So with that, that concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them and also be a point of contact into the future if your jurisdictions are looking into these programs similarly.
Thank you, Elisa. Appreciate the information. Is there any comments or questions for Elisa?
It looks like we have 2 questions in the chat. Jacob Mandel asks, are the heat maps available to the public?
I do not believe that there is a public facing version of Populous, but generally we don't have that information outward facing. But I'm always happy to provide some additional insight if anybody's interested. And as for the second question, do we have any active bike share operators? So presently, what's unfortunate, the way our permitting system is, we don't have incentives or opportunities to increase the diversity of our fleet. And what I mean by that is having not just scooters or different types of scooters, but e-bikes, cargo bikes, and ADA accessible scooters. With the RFP, we're definitely hoping to get to a more diverse fleet, and a fleet that can be paired more appropriately with our commercial corridors and transit, as well as our learning institutions. One company does have a small fleet deployed up at UCSD of bikes for bike share.
Any other comments or questions? Great. Well, thank you very much, Elisa. I appreciate your help and time on this.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving on to item number 7. Number 7, so Caltrans Walk Bike Technical Advisory Committee updates to be done by Chris Romano. Chris, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris Romano. My pronouns are he and him, and I work at Sandag. I also am one of the representatives for the California Walk and Bike Technical Advisory Committee, and I'm also the chair of the design subcommittee. So I'll talk a little bit about both today. I'm going to give you an update from the last meeting that we had, which was I think a couple months ago now. So there's probably some new information that will be coming out soon, but here's a few topics. So at the last one, we had a brainstorming session to help update the Complete Streets policy document that Caltrans headquarters is working at right now. This document is intended to really just define the approach that Caltrans will be taking towards Complete Streets when they do their efforts. So what we know right now is they're doing a bunch of internal and external engagements to see the kinds of things that people might want before they actually come up with a draft policy and put it out for discussion. Some of the things that were talked about in the group were a really strong desire to ensure that the Complete Streets approach takes a network approach. So not just looking at one street, but understanding that all the streets need to work together. And there was a strong support and interest in integrating equity, livability, and climate, as well as youth populations in the outreach component. There was a recognition that there needs to be a difference between urban and rural areas in the Complete Streets approach. And there was also a broader interest in what I wrote down was supporting non-traditional or non-standard road user needs. So I think the idea here is really just to get away from the focus on prioritizing vehicles first and understanding there's a lot of different types of vehicles that are coming out now that need to be able to use our streets. And that it needs to be updated more regularly. I'm not sure when the last time this was updated, but I think, you know, with the pace that we see our standards and innovations change and technology change, there's a need to update these things much more frequently. So the next thing we discussed was an update on the Complete Streets reservation that Caltrans has been working through. There was $100 million for Complete Streets improvements on different projects. Half of that was used for projects that just kind of were already in the shop and could add Complete Streets components, but the other half was based on competitive project submittals from around the state. So at least one project was selected from every district, and there was a total funding request of 180 million where they only had 50 million available. So they reviewed all of these with a look at sustainability, design, landscape, and planning, looking at connectivity, disadvantaged communities, safety, and other things. And their final project list, they had 13 projects, like I said, at least one from every district. 10 were existing, or were augmentation to existing shop projects. 2 of them were financial contribution only, which means that the program would just provide a financial contribution to match local project funding. And then 1 was a large dollar standalone project. So just a complete streets project that had a high amount of funding to it. The next thing, some of you may be aware, but Caltrans has published a complete streets decision document that needs to be used in every single project that they now undertake. The idea is that it requires the engineer to document why they are or are not including complete streets improvements, so like mainly pedestrian and bicycle facilities. The intention is really to lead to more complete streets features being constructed, and in each phase of the project delivery process, there's going to be a need to look at this to make sure that the features are being included, or if they're not, that there's very solid reasoning as to why. The next thing is Caltrans is now working on developing some kind of traffic calming guidance. They have a work group that's looking into this, and right now they're in the preliminary investigation stage. They've developed a national questionnaire on traffic calming, asking for guidance, decisions, other things like that from different areas. They sent it to the AASHTO technical subcommittees as well as all state DOTs. And the final report for that should be at the end of this month. And then finally, for the design subcommittee, we're still kind of setting our agenda for the year. We've been having some discussions about what we want to discuss. In some ways, we wait for Caltrans to tell us what they want us to give feedback on, but we're also able to come up with some of our own topics. So that's actually a call for, suggestions. If anyone has a topic that you want us to tackle at the state level, or if you have a specific project that you're having challenges with, we also look at those. So feel free to contact me about that. Other things that we've settled that we're definitely going to discuss are lane widths and the guidance around 10-foot lanes, bikeway standards, and how to address the need for accommodating new technologies, traffic calming, which I mentioned Caltrans is already working on. We want to provide comments on that. As some of you may know, the update to DIB 89 is also in process. We already made comments on that a year ago. It's being finalized by Caltrans now, so that should come out, but we're still tracking it. And then also, as Jim mentioned earlier, the MUTCD and making sure that we have been talking about it as a group. We're also getting feedback from Caltrans on the kinds of things they're commenting on, and we're able to provide input for what Caltrans should comment. We think Caltrans should comment on. And I will just mention, for those of you who aren't familiar with the advisory committee, we basically advise on Caltrans efforts from a walk and bike perspective. We're not advising on things like policies or political matters. So there's a distinction that we try to keep pretty clear as we move through this. All right, that concludes my report. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions? I don't see a hand raised.
Yes, Chair. I don't see any comments for this item. I'm just scrolling down. Yes, confirming no comments on this item, Chair.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Chris, again. Moving on to item number 8.
Yeah, so I get to introduce item number 8, Regional Active Transportation Network Data Collection with Josh.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair Hauser. Much appreciated. Can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up. Sweet. Okay, excellent. Well, I thank Everett and all of you, your staff, colleagues at each of your agencies for your help with this effort. And I am very excited to unveil a new version and updated spatial data for the regional bike map, the interactive bike map specifically. So I have chatted a link to the bike map, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. And I would like to share my screen and do a quick step through to show you what's changed. Excellent. Okay, so you can then hopefully see the link I sent open in Chrome on my end. I'm going to give you a quick pro tip here. I always click to view the larger map, and then I have bookmarked this larger map here as I reference this bike map quite frequently. So something else I'll toggle back to the first screen that's changed is the legend. Exciting to add 2 new bikeway facility types this round in 2020, the separated bikeway and the bike boulevard. We'll talk a bit more about both of these as we look at the larger map. So you can always access that legend again here, not so much with the descriptions. Feel free to refer back to the previous page for those, but let's take a look at the layer list. The bikeways look a bit different this iteration. We have tested them with Chrome extensions to see how they look for various colorblind folks, and so this scheme does show up well for everyone. So we're happy about that. But again, the facility types themselves do look a little bit different. So let's just talk a bit about some of the additions. We have separated bikeways. You can see the Beach Street and 6th Avenue bikeways are here. And then let's toggle the bikeways coming soon. So we have also added near-term CIP projects, and you see the Bike Boulevard brought in for the first time, this darker brown feature. As you can see, there are quite a few in the North Park Mid-City area, and you can see the separated bikeway builds out through here with the 4th and 5th Avenue bikeway project that previous colleague Chris Romano is the project manager for. So that's pretty exciting. And I want to take a moment here to say that there is a user guide with some more information and specifically an email address. This is for the AT Network team that works on this map. And I have to give a huge thank you to one person in particular, Eric Wendt, in our data solutions team at Sandak here, who has done such a good job and will be fielding those emails among others of us who will look to see if there's anything that we should change, any bikeways that we should add. I know many of you and your colleagues have been working with us on a GIS-based web viewer tool so that we can add bikeways that existed in 2020, but we want to continue to roll that through and add bikeways as they're implemented. So that's certainly an area where you could reach out to the AT team, let us know if we've got anything captured incorrectly, of course, and also if there's anything we should be adding. But no doubt we'll be soliciting feedback from you at the end of every calendar year, as we did at the end of 2020, to find out what has changed in the region. Additionally, we still maintain the freeway shoulder access layer, and the other suggested routes, they are not set to turn on when you open the map, but can be selected, same as the steep routes. And then we have improved the GTFS, which is the transit services in this go around, to show stops and routes. So a lot here. I won't go too into it. I have kind of given everybody an introduction. The other really cool new introduction is the bike lockers, and passing through here, you can get more info on how to register. So I think that's a pretty good overview, and just another way to say thank you all for your help in helping to ensure that we have captured all of the bikeways in the region. So I will stop sharing. Much appreciated. And I think that's it for me all. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Josh. Very comprehensive. I was clicking along as well, looking through it. I'll ask my question at the end, but I see a hand raised from Jacob. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, no question. Just a quick comment that we're really appreciative of these new changes. It really makes the map a lot better. You know, I really was glad to see that the suggested routes have been moved out of the bikeway. So just really appreciative of these changes to you and your staff.
Great, thank you. Nicole.
Yes, great. Thank you, Josh Clark and staff. Eric Wint, appreciate the new improvements to the map, and especially the two colors of orange were very kind of confusing for a lot of people. So super excited. This couple just questions. Will paper maps be also printed? Two other things. Is there consideration for adding maybe a little red arrow for dangerous intersections, those Caltrans highway intersections? Or I saw you address steep hills. I don't know if that's on the map specifically. I think it was on your last Sandag map. So with the little arrows on the route. So looking forward to this new tool. So thank you so much for staff for working on this.
Hey, Nicole, thanks. The steep roads is something that we want to improve on. And then for other recommendations or suggestions, I would reach out to that atnetwork@sandac.org address. And especially if you have an example from another region that you think is really sharp, then that will be a good template for us to use. And then for the printed bike map, I don't think there is a plan to coordinate with iCommute to print a bike map any sooner than May 2022.
Okay, looking up and down. Thank you, Josh. I think time for my comments as we coordinated, looking good. Did you say that you wanted to continue to receive comments continuously, sort of if we pick up on things in this map, or are we going to try to group them into an annual cycle?
Absolutely. We will still do the annual cycle, but the answer I'd say specifically is to let's do it continuously. Let's update it in real time. Everything is pretty well dialed in on the back end here. And so we can make changes and then show them within, with a couple clicks of the button. So it's all refreshed.
Okay, great. That sounds good. We'll have lots of stuff coming. Jim Barras.
I think I'm unmuted. Josh, great work for you and your team, and really going to be a good resource. When you said a click of a button, will the map and your capabilities be such that when there's temporary closures for construction, certainly happens along the San Diego River and north along 15, when there's construction and detour required, is that something that is going to be available for real-time information for commuters?
Jim, that's a good point. I'll talk with the team about that. I'd imagine things like the Camp Pendleton access is a really important one too. And Everett brought to our attention some detour for the Murphy Canyon bike path with the SDSU West work that's going on. It was a little bit of a challenge to do that on the fly and still have it consistent across the networks, but that was a good test. We were able to do that. And so I think we should be able to do this for other detours and closures. Yeah. So thanks, Jim. It's a really good point. I'll bring it up to the crew.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Good reminder. I was just over that stadium site. So the stadium path is not displayed through the parking lot, but the other suggested route is to access the Tank Farm Road and then continue up that way. And the signs are out. I've seen those being posted by SDSU as deconstruction continues. Okay, any other questions for Josh? Frank put something on the chat, but I think, again, that as Josh has said, you can continue to send comments about network refinements, freeway shoulders, things like that to the staff at Sandag. All right, excellent. Thank you very much, Josh. Great reveal.
Great, thank you, Everett and Josh. I think that brings us to item number 9 on the agenda, which is normally the Caltrans update. Unfortunately, today we do not have a representative for the update from the local assistant group. But Alex, if you receive any information, will you please share that with the group?
Will do, and we will be sending the update as a follow-up to the meeting.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alex. And we're gonna turn it over to Minji and Everett for the closing.
Thank you, Mo. Yeah, now item number 10, upcoming meetings. I believe Alex has some ideas to share. Alex, go ahead.
Yes, I know that we've sort of been trying to be flexible with these joint meetings, as previously mentioned in past meetings. Since we met today in the active transportation working group's time slot, we're proposing to go back to the Santec time slot, which would be on April 22nd, and wanted to bring to the working group's attention that we would like to kind of have a focused discussion on that particular meeting, because as you know, I think we made a couple presentations in the last meetings where we've been working on a broadband strategy, and some of you actually have participated in some of the initial discovery through interviews, and we would like to come back to the group and highlight some of our findings. But one of the key elements that that kind of was raised during this discovery effort is that the approach by which we considered broadband projects is really not consistent. But as SANDAG proceeds forward, kind of developing the strategy from a environmental justice and making sure that we provide access to underserved communities, we're thinking of bringing in a panel of local agencies, and also have some exercises with all of you to work through that. And since this sort of the development process of digital broadband includes not only the engineering staff, but also the planning staff at your jurisdictions, we're thinking of having a combining this meeting with the planning directors as well. So the proposed date would be April 22nd, between 9:30 and 11:30. And as we develop the agenda, we'll obviously share it in advance of that meeting. So wanted to kind of have that high level, get some thoughts from all the working group members. But other than that, that was really kind of the proposed approach and looking at for the next meeting, Chair Minji.
Good. Thank you, Alex. I think I see one hand raised by Jim. Do you have a question, or that's from previous? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so no more hands raised.
No, Chair, we do have Hamid.
Chairman, I would like to bring to your attention that, as you all know, that SANDAG is working on the new transportation model, Series 14, and it's work in progress, and it will be finalized, hopefully with the schedule for adoption by the SANDAG board by the end of the year. Some of the preliminary results that I have seen have raised an issue that I think we need to collectively look at and make some decisions. And that is the fact that the new model for the Series 14, it will show substantially lower traffic volumes in 2050 horizon year on the arterial system, and maybe even on the freeway system. And hopefully, you know, that's the reality, and that's the goal of the SB 743 and reduction of the VMT in the state, and climate change addressing and all that. But this will pose some short-term challenges for us. One of them is that for the developments that we are reviewing, if the horizon year traffic volume is substantially less, in some cases like by as much as 40% compared to today's traffic volumes, then how do you prepare a traffic impact analysis, and how do you condition a developer to pay their fair share or mitigate their traffic impact? And second is that what will it do to the region for our grant applications when you show a built out traffic condition that can be almost half of the existing condition? How will that jeopardize our competitiveness for CIP? So these are only the couple issues that I can think of now, but there are a lot of other ramifications. So I would like our groups collectively, because it impacts the CIP delivery also, in addition to traffic mitigation and all that, I would like us to be a little bit more involved and receive briefings on the modeling development as it progresses. Of course, as I mentioned, it's work in progress, and we all know that any transportation model goes through a gazillion iterations and fine tuning until they have the final numbers. It's an extremely complex process. But nonetheless, I thought to bring it up and ask Sandak folks to maybe talk with Mike, who's in charge of the modeling, and see how it's best appropriate for this group to have at least heads up. Obviously, we don't want to be micromanaging their work, but I saw a few locations that I saw drops in traffic by almost half in the year 2050 compared to what it is today. And that I'm going to stop here. And I just want to bring it to the attention of the group and see how best we can be involved and informed. Thank you.
Chair, just maybe a point of clarification. It sounded like there's no comments on the April 22nd meeting proposed date. Okay, just want to make sure that's noted. And then to address to Hamid the comment there, I will work with the modeling team and trying to schedule something in a future meeting. But I also like to point the clarification. I mean, I'm not sure, or I have reviewed the context by which you're making the comments. So, but I'll make sure that the modeling team comes back.
Yeah,
and
sure.
schedules several meetings.
Yeah, sure. And again, because it's it's not only the goal of the region, but it's a policy of the state of California to reduce VMT, and that's the direction we are going. And we are hoping to achieve those levels of lower traffic volumes. But in the process, as we are going forward, we have some short-term challenges that we need to be aware of and address.
Great. I can maybe add a little bit on that. Actually, the modeling group does come to Santec when they have for an update, when they have a major update upgrade to their models. But they do have a modeling forum. They schedule it on a regular basis. I'm not sure if it's every quarter, every 6 months, something like that. You want to get to that list, because I'm on that list, so I get invitations all the time. But I don't always attend. I do attend when I have time. So that probably will help you to get a better idea as well. Just an idea. Okay, so I think that concludes this item. I'll turn it over to Everett for closing remarks.
Okay, yeah, so I've got the adjournment. So thanks everyone, Mo, Minji, and all attendees from the agencies today and members of the public. Thank you for attending our joint meeting. And as they were just going over the announcements for the next scheduled meetings, look to Sandag for when those next meetings are scheduled. Anything else you'd like to add, Alex, before we adjourn?
No, thank you, chairs. Thank you, all working group members. Thank you for your patience. Like Chair Mo, the hardest part was going through the meeting approval minutes, but thank you for your patience. But no additional comments on my side.
Great, I think we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well.